Welcome to Charlando. Today, our guest is nada menos que actress from comedian, playwright, film, TV, and stage, Marian Pabón, Puerto Rico's very own. Bienvenida, Marian. ¿Cómo estás?
Ay, estoy bien, gracias y más feliz de verte, because you know I love you very much. You're a dear friend of mine. Y estoy feliz de estar hablando contigo este ratito. Bien contenta, gracias a Dios.
It's funny. We've had you here in Chicago in 2014 or 15 when you came in through the International Latino Cultural Center with Esperando tu Regreso.
Right.
You did Broadway type of music, and it was wonderful at the Instituto Cervantes.
Sí.
And then you, Puerto Rico's first play in our first international Latino Theater Festival, Destinos, that you so wonderfully displayed Medea
Yes.
Steppenwolf. So, and we're excited to bring you back again in June 19th with Sola, en la Pandemia, está cañón. Pero, Mariam, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I comencé desde que estaba en la high school. Yo comencé haciendo teatro musical. That's what I really want. Teatro musical es lo que yo estudié. I started working when I was 16 years old. I started professionally. I was still in high school. I'm not that old. I was in third year of high school. Ahí pueden sacar la cuenta. I started doing professional theater there, musical theater, which is really what I always loved to do. That's what I wanted to do in my life, musical theater. So I started doing musical theater, and then I went to New York to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, where I studied for 3 years there. Before that, I went to Emerson College, where I studied for 1 year. And I transferred because I didn't want to study science or math, or I just wanted to specialize in theater. And in New York, I studied theater at the American Academy. Entonces, I studied voice lessons with a special teacher outside school. And I started taking dance lessons with JoJo Smith, Alvin Ailey, with all these great teachers of dance in Estados Unidos. And after I graduated, I came back for a vacation, but then I got offered a soap opera. I never done a soap opera before. I wanted to see what it was like. And I started doing soap operas here. And then I got into theater here. And then I started doing TV. And then it was very hard for me to leave because I had a lot of work. So that basically, that's la trayectoria de mi vida. It's been 47 years now that I've been working.
Tell me a little bit, you write your own materials for your stand-up comedy.
I started writing very late. I started writing stand-up a few 20-something years ago. It was very funny because I started stand-up. A friend of mine, I was telling him about when I broke up with one of my, I was married twice with one of my ex-husbands, the first one. I started telling him the story of how we broke up, and I was crying, and he was looking at me, and he was laughing, and I went like, why are you laughing? And he says, I'm sorry, it's just the way you tell the story is very funny. Why don't you write stand-up? And I went like, I've never done stand-up. And he said, well, you should do it, because just tell the story of your life. And if you tell it the way you're telling me, I'm supposed to comfort you, pero it's just funny listening to you. So I decided to write my first stand-up about 24 years ago. And I've been doing that. I write about my personal life. I bully myself. I talk about my ex-husbands or my daughter, or things that happen around me, or menopause when I got it, that it's been like 12 years and it doesn't go away. Entonces, the last stand-up I wrote is this one que voy a estar presentando, Sola, en la Pandemia, está cañón, which is about all this pandemia and all that's going on, which I have suffered a lot because I've been alone in my apartment. Y en Puerto Rico, the lockdown hasn't been like in the States. We've been locked down like forever down here. The lockdown was like for 2 months, the first lockdown. And after that, it's been very hard. So de ahí es que I base my stand-up writing in mi vida personal, in what I do and what's happening around me.
So I know that you've taken La Pandemia to Florida, and most recently,
Yes.
last weekend.
Yes.
Tell us how the audience welcomed you, and tell me where in Florida did you present La Pandemia?
Okay. Oh, well, I went to 3 cities. I went to Ocala, to Kissimmee, and Jacksonville. And it was very funny because there was different reactions. The funny part about this, que es lo más gracioso, in Florida, la pandemia ha sido like very light. There were no masks. So when I talk about lockdown, they had just 2 weeks of lockdown. That was it. After that, they were all out if they wanted to go out, if they had the mask, if they didn't have it. So I used the gimmick of, I know that here in Florida, COVID never came. A lot of people died, but COVID was never here. So, but the funny thing is that the first city I went was to Ocala. Entonces, usually I have a big following of Puerto Ricans in Florida because there are a lot of Puerto Ricans living there. And they receive you when you live outside, I mean, fuera de Puerto Rico, and you're Puerto Rican, when you get a Puerto Rican actor to come visit you, the warmth and the love that you feel from the audience is amazing. Es hasta más que en Puerto Rico, because they need some of Puerto Rico near them. Y entonces un cantito de uno, if you're there, it's like they're getting some of Puerto Rico in front of them.
El calorcito humano que el puertorriqueño proyecta.
Exacto. O sea, que te reciben con un amor. It's like, it's amazing the love they have for you cuando uno sale de Puerto Rico a hacer stand-up donde hay puertorriqueños. El amor es una cosa que uno lo recibe con un cariño tan grande. And the crazy thing es que no habían puertorriqueños nada más. In the first show, we had people from Venezuela, Colombia, Perú, donde más era Costa Rica, and they were there and they enjoyed the show so much. Yo pregunto siempre before I start the show, how many people here are Puerto Ricans, and half of the audience raises their hand, and then I go, who's not Puerto Rican, and they start raising their hands. And so if I use a word like in the title of the stand-up, cañón, that they don't understand the meaning, I explain que en Puerto Rico usamos la palabra cañón for something good, esto está cañón, or for something bad, esto está cañón. It depends on the inflection that you put on the word. So whenever I would talk about something that they didn't know, because it was, estoy mencionando el programa de televisión that I work in here, and they don't know, then I would explain, and they understood everything, and they get everything. O sea, que pueden venir de cualquier país, que no importa, lo van a entender y lo van a disfrutar por igual. It's open. It's just a pandemic related story. So I think everybody in the world would relate to this stand-up. They were so amazing. De estos públicos que cualquier cosa que uno dice, you get a reaction. Y para un stand-up comedian, el tener una reacción del público, that makes the whole show. Para eso es lo que uno, that's what you work for. So I had a great time. Fue espectacular. They want me to go back in August, at the end of July or August, to go to Miami, to go to Tampa and another city. So we're sort of planning to do that later on.
That is great. We are excited and looking forward to having you here, June the 9th.
I'm so happy because I love Chicago. I love the city. I love you. I love going to Chicago. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. Y no lo digo porque I say it for real. Yo digo que if there was another place I could live que no sea Puerto Rico, it would be Chicago. I really love that city. I'm in love with the city.
It is a great city, and we've got over 200,000 Puerto Ricanos in Chicago. And I'm looking forward to the Puerto Rican community to come out. But because the story of the pandemic in Spanish, it's going to be totally in Spanish, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Sí. Un poquito bilingüe y tú tiras
claro, si alguien no entiende algo, I can turn it on English a little bit and come back to Spanish and go back and forth if needed. That's fine with me.
The thing is that when we nos une la latinidad y el idioma nuestro de español. Así que we're looking forward to Chicago Latino Theater Alliance, my team, my board, and los puertorriqueños and las just Latinos in Chicago will be welcoming you on the 19th. Mariam, thank you so very much for your generosity, for your time, for your just your you're so bubbly, you're so incredible, full of energy, and we need of that. We need to be infused with a little bit of that energy that you have. Así que nos estaremos
Gracias.
viendo pronto. Un abrazo, te queremos.
Thank you.
Cuídate
Love
mucho.
you.
Stay safe.
Gracias.
Stay
Y
hopeful.
un abrazo a todos y pronto I'll be there soon to enjoy and have fun. That's
Yes.
what we want. We just want to have fun after this whole past year that's been so terrible. We want to enjoy, have fun, and just enjoy life. That's we realized in esta pandemia that life is so short. We just have to live it and do the best of it and be happy and enjoy.
Great. Thank you so very much.
Un
Cuídate.
beso. Te
Chao.
quiero. Bye.